Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Let us pray. Father God, thank you for the gift of life. Thank you for this webinar. Thank you for bringing us for this great cause. We thank you that it will be for the glory of your name. Thank you for the wisdom that will be shared, the lessons that will be shared, the experiences, for the betterment of the energy sector. Lord, we thank you for all the presenters and every participant, Lord Father. We thank you for this time. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much. Amen. All right, we'll get started. I'll introduce myself first. My name is Isaac Ephraim Tumusime. I am the immediate past president of the Energy Efficiency Association of Uganda, which is also the local chapter of the Association of Energy Engineers International. And it's a singular honor, together with our colleagues from IACRI, to share our findings from recent research we did, supported by CLASP, on the role of energy efficient milling in the operations, energy efficient milling operations in strengthening off-grid system sustainability in northern Uganda. This is going to be our program. I will give some opening remarks. I'll invite Noah, our partner in the project, to give an opening remark as well. I'll also invite one of the our CLASP partners, lead, to give an opening remark as well. Then we'll get straight into the presentation of the findings. We'll open up to a Q&A interactive session, which we hope that all of you will participate, because though we have found out certain interesting aspects, we believe that there's still a lot more to learn, and we would like to hear from you. We'll then have a summary of the proceedings and then closing remarks. Without further ado, I would like to invite, I would like to give the open remarks now. When we started off this project, we had the Energy Efficiency Symposium last year in August, and we vehemently shared that there is a need to raise awareness on the benefits of energy efficiency across different sectors. And the then commissioner, Dr. Brian Isabiye, picked on this interest and introduced us to UKAID. And long story short, this is how we've been able to come to this point. This project has been a very amazing lesson in the power of information sharing and the power of collaboration, as you'll see. And in this project, we've been able to see tremendous opportunities that we believe, if are leveraged, will transform the mini-grid sector. And we believe that NOAA could be a prototype of what it looks like to have an energy-efficient ecosystem in the mini-grid space. I would like to not to preempt what I'm going to share. Right now, I'll invite the NOAA lead to just give her opening remarks, and then she'll invite CLASP to give opening remarks. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Jan Birunji is my name, from NOAA Energy Services. I'd like to thank everyone for turning up for this. And from NOAA Energy, we thank the consortium for bringing out to our attention where we have been focused on access and productive use, but efficiency completely has kind of been on the left side of our operations. But so with the interaction that we have had with the team during this, and as well as our consumers, we believe that this is a journey that we can be able to start and be able to walk. So we thank everyone that has participated and shared their knowledge and skills for us to be able to reach where we are today. And we believe that the journey is just beginning, and that we shall be able to work together and lead to the success of this study. Thank you very much. I therefore invite the CLASP lead to also give us the opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane and Isaac. Good morning, all, from a very chilly Nairobi. So thank you for being here today. I hope it's a little warmer where you are. My name is Martha Wakoli, and I'm a senior manager at CLASP. I'd also like to acknowledge my colleague Sumaya, who's actually a co-host on this call, as she's been the project lead for this partnership. So by way of introduction, CLASP is an international nonprofit that is the leading global authority on the role of efficient appliances in fighting climate change and improving people's lives. And together with the Energy Saving Trust, we serve as co-secretariats for the Efficiency for Access Coalition, and we manage a program called LEA, or the Low Energy Inclusive Appliances Program. And that program is then funded by the IKEA Foundation and UK Aid via their Transforming Energy Access platform. So as Isaac mentioned, this partnership came into place serendipitously because our partnership through the UK Aid is what led us into learning about the work that EEAU is doing and wanting to work with them a little closer to get a better understanding of energy efficiency in Uganda. So as I mentioned, LEA is a research and demonstrator program, and our primary focus is to promote highly efficient appliances to enable access to clean energy for the people who need it the most. So it's been a really wonderful experience collaborating with EEAU and IACRI that I'm sure you'll hear from in a few minutes over this past year to gain a slightly better understanding of the energy performance of mortars primarily used in milling operations on the NOAA mini grids in northern Uganda. And for us, our interest around this was primarily around productive use, but also how mini grid financial viability can be improved by improving the efficiency of the motors that are used for this primary activity. So today, we are here to share insights from this research, and we look forward to having an engaging session with all of you. Once again, thank you for being here, and I'll now hand over back to Isaac and his team to lead us through the next section.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Martha, for that very amazing session on the role that LEA is doing in terms of promoting efficiency across the board. And without further ado, we're going to get into the presentation. For those of you who have just come, this is the program. I'll not go over it again because of time, but we'll get straight into our presentation. All right, so for this presentation, we are going to set the context. Where specifically are these sites? Then we'll delve into just an introduction of where we are as a sector, do a literature review according to a summary of the literature review we did concerning the mini-grid space, energy efficiency aspects, and what that points to. Then we'll talk about the methodology that we used in order to do this research. I will then invite my colleague from IACRI to share the study findings. I'll come back and share the recommendations and then also to conclude the process. Before we go very far, I would like to, first of all, just talk about the context of this particular project. First off, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development has been a key convener of this particular project. As I mentioned, we invited the ministry to our first energy efficiency symposium to have a conversation about what it would look like to have energy efficiency accelerated across different sectors. And from that conversation is where this project was birthed. The Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development has the mandate and the overarching agency to promote the development and the sustainable use of energy and mineral resources. So specifically on the energy efficiency space, we are very lucky that in this particular year in April, the ministry successfully concluded the process together with support, of course, from the President of the enactment of the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act. And this particular piece of policy, therefore, is a stamp of confirmation from our country that there is a very significant interest in promoting energy efficiency across the board. And that particular document is going to accelerate the adoption of energy efficiency across the country. And we, as the Energy Efficiency Association of Uganda, are very interested in supporting this particular initiative. As Martha has already indicated, energy efficiency for access is a program premised on the belief that high-performing appliances can create and accelerate energy access, but also promote affordable and high-performing inclusive market systems. And they do so by promoting appliances that are affordable, then as they do that, address market barriers to clean access to energy. And they have key thematic areas: access to cooling, agriculture and energy efficiency, productive uses of renewable energy, which Martha elaborated on, health and energy efficiency. And so for us, we are very excited that at this decade of Energy Efficiency Association of Uganda's existence, we are getting to a place where we have like-minded organizations like Efficiency for Access and CLASP who are keen on promoting energy efficiency in Uganda, as they are doing in other countries. IKEA Foundation and the UK Aid are key funders of the Energy Efficiency for Access program, together with other funders like the Clinton Health Access Initiative, Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, and the Nordic Development Fund. IKEA Foundation is dedicated to building a world where low-emission economies create well-being for many people and sustain planetary health. And the vision is to create better everyday life for many people to pursue their visions and support partners around the world with a focus on emerging developing economies like ours. And that is through providing resources, as we've seen for this particular project. UK Aid also is an international development assistance organization which uses support from the United Kingdom government and the UK people to fund global programs aimed to ending extreme poverty, tackling climate change, and delivering humanitarian aid. And they have several programs which I'll not go into because of time. CLASP, as Martha has already introduced, is really one of those amazing non-government organizations that's bringing all this together through sound research, policy advice, innovative financing approaches, and ground-breaking research that she talked about to help government, industry leaders, and other experts improve efficiency in appliances for people and planet, as Martha has already mentioned. The Energy Efficiency Association of Uganda, of which I'm part, is committed to advancing Uganda's energy sector by supporting professionals in obtaining international certifications, providing training on energy efficiency, developing the necessary policies. And as a segue, I could say that we were actually very actively involved in the previous Energy Efficiency Conservation Bill. We prepared a position paper which enabled the Act to be favorable before the Parliament. And EAU has over 200 members, and the goal is to advance energy innovation, training, and collaboration in the areas of energy efficiency use, while also encouraging the reduction of the carbon footprint. IACRI, who's our partner, is the East African Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency, and is also a not-for-profit organization that's primarily aimed on promoting renewable energy and efficiency in the East African community. And through regional policy harmonization, awareness and capacity building, research and development and innovation, investment, promotion and knowledge management. And IACRI has been a very key partner in this project. NOAA, who in full is NOET Off-Grid Africa, is an investment platform designed to support Africa's energy transition by addressing energy access challenges. And it's a global off-grid renewable energy developer, designer and integrator, and it's a privilege to have an opportunity to work with such an organization that is keen on promoting energy access in the most sustainable way. Actually, one of their key values is sustainability. And NOAA provides clean energy solutions to over 850 million people worldwide who lack access. In Uganda, NOAA Uganda was founded in 2008 and has over 25 mini-grids and more to come. As we had our conversations during the training, they are actually planning to launch more. And they are very particularly focused on productive uses, which makes them a very interesting off-grid developer. And they not only provide the electricity access, but they also support customers adopt productive use assets. and as they do, generate income that then, of course, supports the grid sustainability aspects. And we are all very delighted to be a partner. Now, for those of you who have not been to the sites, this is just a live Google video just showing where the sites are located, such that you can have an understanding of the conditions in these mini grids and the locality. But specifically for the area of Lamour, according to the research that we've been able to have for this particular project, there's a 42% poverty headcount in this area, and the majority, 99% of the individuals in this area are subsistent agro-pastoralists. And obviously, because of the remoteness of the location, as you've seen in the video and as you can see in that picture, they do not have access to the grid. And that's where NOAA comes in as a significant partner with the government to see how can we promote energy access in these remote locations by closing that gap. And they implemented this project back in 2021 and have been able to really have some significant gains. On the Ugandan space, Uganda's Vision 2040 encapsulates the reality that energy is a vital component of a country's development. And as so far from the current published research or articles, our access has increased from 11% in 2010 to 60% currently, with 25% of that on-grid and 35% off-grid. The total electric production capacity has increased from 700 megawatts in 2010 to 2,100 megawatts as of 2025. And as you can see from the graph on the right, the industries are the biggest consumers, 67%, followed by residentials, and then commercial and public services. And based on that, our project therefore looked at, based on the project facts from the UN and what we've already talked about, the poverty aspects, and the fact that grain milling is a key driver of the economic welfare of these communities, as you've seen the poverty situation and the fact that they have no access, we said, how can we then support NOAA to improve the overall sustainability and efficiency of their operations, starting with the millers, in order for these communities to benefit from the milling operations, as you'll see as we talk through the findings. And the main objectives is indicated there, as I've just mentioned. And the specific objectives, the first one was, first of all, to assess the technical performance of these motors and the milling operations in the mini grids. And there we were using equipment, as I want to talk about, and also doing some walkthrough audits to understand what are the processes around the milling operations, how are they using the motors, what are the gaps in knowledge versus practice, and where can we step in to support. We also did a quantification of the energy efficiency opportunities, and specifically we'll talk about those in detail later, but we focused on the bankability. In the event that NOAA decides, let's say, to approach a banker, they should be able to have the basic financial matrix like payback, net present value, and internal rate of return of these particular measures that we're recommending. The other one is also assess the socio-economic impact. What would happen if millers and the entire ecosystem of the mini grid was more efficient? What impact would that have? And we'll talk about later. We also built a case to indicate that indeed there is a case for efficiency in the mini grid, starting with the anchor loads, but also going across the entire ecosystem. And then identifying what are the barriers that could prevent the operator, NOAA, who's the mini grid operator, but also the milling owners from adopting energy efficiency, and how can we together co-develop or co-create solutions that will eliminate or limit these barriers. As I said, from the literature review, mini grid sizes range from between 10 kilowatt to 10 megawatt, and they are connected systems with storage. And interestingly, particularly for NOAA, we did not find that they had diesel generator sets set up in their ecosystem, which was a very good, interesting find. As we've already mentioned, it's located in around the Lamour district, as we saw in the Google live feed and the image. And it's a strategic location because of its a location between Uganda and South Sudan and the high refugee settlements around that. Actually, about 79,238 refugees come in from South Sudan to settle in those areas. And so there is an opportunity there to support these vulnerable people by ensuring that whatever operations are done at the mini-grid space are driving significant value back to them, while also benefiting the mini-grid. And the mini-grid, as I mentioned earlier, was launched in 2021 and through funding from GIZ with support from the European Union. And more is yet to come, as I mentioned. To be able to gather the correct data and be able to get the insights that we've been able to do, we followed a 4-step process. And it was iterative in that even after we've collected the data, we had several interactions with the stakeholders like NOAA, their technicians, to really understand what we are finding and really develop recommendations that are actually implementable by NOAA. And so from the input side, we gathered mini-grid data, which was provided by NOAA. We also tried to get existing machine data from the mill operators. We also got energy consumption data. So this is just data recorded within Excel or in their systems. Stakeholder data from the community. Then we did a baseline assessment. We did a motor performance assessment, technical gap and efficiency opportunities assessment, the impact assessments that I mentioned earlier. And then we actually have already implemented a training with NOAA, which was very, very successful. And we believe that from that training, there is significant traction in terms of bringing efficiency to the mini-grid space. We developed an inception report. We've already developed the baseline assessment tools that we've already submitted. We are in the process of concretizing the insights from the training and insights that we'll get from you through this webinar to come up with a holistic baseline report that then we can use to disseminate to other mini-grid developers like NOAA. We'll also have a summary infographic that will summarize what are the key findings, what are the takeaways, what could be the next steps for NOAA and other mini-grid developers of that kind. We are also in the process of developing an O&M manual that will be used by the technicians at NOAA to support the sensitization of not just the operators of the mills, but anyone who is joining the NOAA's operating processes. And we believe that this will create significant impact in grid reliability and the business case, as you'll see, and it will optimize, we believe it will optimize the milling operations and their deployment, and also provide significant business case for the mill operators, and it will enhance awareness. Awareness, as you'll see in this particular presentation, has come out to be a key leverage point. For those of you who are systems professionals like I am, you know that in a system, there are leverage points that if are utilized well and implemented on, they will create significant ripple effects across an entire system. And for this case, our focus initially was the boundary of the system was the mill. But as we began to explore and have interactions with NOAA, we began to realize that the boundary is actually bigger. The boundary goes beyond just the mill. It goes to the community, it goes to the mini-grid. And therefore, there's a leverage point that if we turn effectively, that leverage point has a ripple effect across the bigger boundary and not just the mill. And we believe that it will enhance the efficiency uptake, but also the business case across the board. So the data collection strategy, we took up 3 strategies combined. So we did a quantitative data collection, which I've already mentioned, from Mudu Central. One mill was for which we got data from. Ojili Trading Center, there were 2 mills there where we got data from. And at Pieta Mini-Grid, we assessed the mini-grid itself separate because it's the only mini-grid among the 3 which does not have a mill. So how does it operate in the event there's a more mill connected? And the findings are quite interesting. Then we also did a qualitative data collection where we used key informant interviews and across the different mills, Mudu, Ojili, but also we interviewed the NOAA representatives, the technicians, the village representatives, and also the suppliers of these millers. And we also engage the government local leaders because we know that they have an input if they understand what energy efficiency is all about, then there is significant ripple effect. The boundary increases, and as the boundary increases in this system, then also the impact in terms of the interventions we are trying to recommend. The final one was energy measurement, and as an energy professional, definitely you have to do some measurements, and there we use power quality analyzers, energy loggers, thermographic cameras, and tachometers, and I'll talk about that in the next section. So we used the ISO 50002 2025 standard to do these energy audits. And we used the PQA as shown there, and there we were trying to say what's the current voltage, active, reactive power conditions for the mills. Energy loggers, we were trying to combine, for those sites that we could not have a power quality analyzer, at least we had a energy logger. So we use these in tandem, not together. So one site has a power quality analyzer, another has an energy logger. Then the thermographic camera, of course, to determine what is the temperature condition of these motors, because as engineers know that as heat increases, it affects motors significantly, their performance and their life, and even the efficiency. The other one is also the tachometer, where we use to measure the speeds, because we know that the rated number of revolutions per minute versus what is the load, the no load versus the load has implications, especially when you talk about load factor. And we'll talk about that later in the study findings. Without further ado, I'd like to invite my colleague, Talib, to lead us through the study findings. I hope you'll find them valuable. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Isaac. Can you confirm that you can hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Thank you so much for that introduction. Yes, like Mr. Isaac said, my name is Talib Pasquale, and I work for EACRE as a Sustainable Energy Officer. So it is a pleasure to have taken part in this study. So we'll begin with looking at the key parameters that we have summarized into this table. Isaac, please put all the data on the table. Yes, thank you. So like Mr. Isaac said, our study focused on Lamour district, and we have visited 3 mill customers, or 3 millers, where we have measured all the data that you can see on the table. And the 3 mini grids that we visited, they have different sizes. Then the one for Ogili is having is of 80 kilowatt peak, and then for Mudu and Apieta are of 40 kilowatt peak each, with a battery storage size of 144 kilowatt hour each, while for Ogili is 288 kilowatt hour. Then if you look at the number of customers that are connected to these different mini grids, you see for Ogili has the majority of the connections, which is 221, while Mudu follows with 137, and Apieta has the least number of customers connected at the 44 numbers. Then the monthly generation for Ogili is at 9,136 kilowatt, and then for Mudu is 4,568, which is the same as the one for Apieta. And the monthly consumption for Ogili is of course the highest at 2,681. And the one for Mudu is at 573, while for Apieta is 2,080. And the business average customer per month, we have 25, and that is for Apieta, for Ogili. For Mudu Central, that's 71, and for Apieta is at 17. And now looking at their different load factors, which is the measure of consistency of the electricity demand over time. you can see that Mudu has 39, nearly 40%, nearly 40%, indicating that the grid is stable and running at and having the smoothest demand profile with fewer drastic spikes. But for Apieta has the least stable. Apieta is the least stable. Or rather, Ogili. Yeah, Ogili has the least power factor, which is at 28.6, indicating heavy spikes or fluctuating consumption pattern throughout the day. But for Apieta follows closely to Mudu Central. And now when we look at the utilization rate, which is a measure of total actual energy consumed versus the total mini grid generation capacity available. So Apieta here leads at 46%, indicating that its 40 kilowatt peak solar grid is working closer to its full potential capacity compared to the other two. Then for Mudu Central has the lowest utilization rate of 13%, despite its good load factor of 39.8%. So that tells us that the system is significantly oversized for its current customers. While for Ogili with at 29, despite consuming the most overall energy at 2,681, its massive 81 kilowatt peak solar array keeps its overall utilization modest. Please, can you go to the next slide? Okay, now this can also explain what we have just been saying. As you can see, Mudu Central has at least the lowest consumption at this point. You can see for businesses, this data represent four categories: business, households, milling, and public. So for at Mudu Central, businesses consumed about 3,000 kilowatt hour, while households consume the largest at 12,000 kilowatt, and the milling operation has also consumed 8,000 kilowatt hour. So at Mudu there is only one mill, and as we can see here, this is the consumption that we have measured from the site. And then at Apieta, the households rather business consume at least 33,000 kilowatt hour, while households consume 43 kilowatt. You see, it is close to each other. That means there is a lot of activities taking place within at Apieta trading center, rather the mill grid of place at Apieta. Yet there is no any milling operation taking place in Apieta. So this means that businesses such as refrigerations, weldings, it takes place, are quite consistent and intense at Apieta trading center. And here you can see a public institution also consume about 8,000 kilowatt. We should know that Apieta is where the refugee settlement that my colleague Isaac was talking about is located. So that means most of these international organizations and schools within the Lamour districts are located in that place to, support the refugees who are there. So that also translates to this amount of consumption that has been measured. Then for Ogili, we can see businesses consume about 40,000, and these businesses can be thought of as refrigerations, saloons and all that that has consumed this amount of power. And household consumed a lot at 63 kilowatt hour. And then we have the two milling operations at a station at Ogli, also consume around 13,000 kilowatt hour, and public institutions consume 3,000 kilowatt hours. So this means that the public institutions such as minimally connected. Next slide, please. Okay, now this slide shows the consumption, shows a generation over consumption profiles. As you can see, this is for Ogili. This is for Ogili. We can see that from January 2022 to February up to March 2023, there were no data that was recorded, but we started having data from April 2022, and that is where the generation started kicking off at a very minimum amount there, and it peaked, in May and continues until it peaked in March 2025 at over 7,000 kilowatt hour. And you can see the consumption pattern also keep fluctuating. The consumption in May 2022 there was zero consumption recorded. This could be because customers were still connecting to the mini grid, and the consumption started picking up from June 2022, and it peaked in December 2025 before declining a little bit. This could be, the decline could be attributed to perhaps the change in weather during rainy season. There is and many people go to their farms to cultivate and all that, so consumption tends to drop and all that. And this can also explain this difference, these changes or fluctuation in power generation because of the weather changes, as the season changes from rainy season to dry season. Next slide. This is for Mudu Central. Is the same from January to March. There were no data recorded, and from April, that is when generation started. But the generation has been, fluctuating so much. In it goes up and then declines so much, and then goes up again. And if you look at the consumption, at some point almost match the generation, almost match the generation. For instance, in December 2023, you can see that the generation was well above 1,000 kilowatt, while the consumption was almost at 1,000 kilowatt hour. And then if you see from December 2024 until December 2026, there were no recorded data for generation, but for consumption, there were recorded data. You can see it keeps on, declining, going up, declining, and going up. Next slide. The same to Apieta. Generation started in April and peaked on October 2024 at well above 40 4,000 kilowatt hour. And while consumption has been increasing and declining. For instance, you can look at in August, possibly in August there was a decline here, and later it peaked and decline, and March, the generation March, and even went well over the generation, but in February 2023, and then after that it went up. So you can see February 2023, this is a period when there is heavy rain and it's cloudy and all that. So this explains why this generation has been dropping so much, because NOAA uses entirely solar panels for their mini grids, and the batteries they are having are lead acids, which we all know that has depth of discharge of 50%. Next slide, please. Next slide. All right. Now let's look at this. This slide connects the physics of inefficient underloaded motors directly to destructive chain reaction that degrades a mini grid hardware and spikes operational cost. Now let me explain the beer mark analogy. You can see the real power here, which is represented with liquid. This is the usable electricity doing the actual work to grind the grains. And this fume here, which is the reactive power, represent the wasted electricity required to magnetize the oversized or magnetized motors. And then the whole mark itself, or the total mark, is the whole mark here. The mini is the the size of the mini grid. Yeah, is the size of the mini grid. So inefficient operation creates too much fumes. It creates too much fumes, in turns clogging the system capacity. Now let's look at for a healthy grid power factor should be between 0.94 to 1, mostly usable liquid energy. Anything under 0.8 is critically bad. That means it will have excessive wasted fume, rather excessive wasted energy. So all the three real world customers that we visited failed this benchmark. They all fell under this bad bad category. Let's look at customer 1 at the Mudu Central.
So we need to accelerate. We need to accelerate the time. We are short of time, so we're going to really speed through what you're sharing. This is already clear. Let's move to the next one.
Okay, move to the next slide, please. All right, very good. This slide illustrates why the grain mills are causing severe issues for both the millers and the mini grid infrastructure. You can see it focuses on the relationship between the motors percent full load, its efficiency, and the power factor. So this left icon here indicates that all studied maize mills are operating at load factor of less than 25%. This means that the electric motors driving these mills are heavily oversized for the work they are actually doing. Now, for example, a 15 HP motor or horsepower motor is being used to do a job that only requires about 5 HP or rather horsepowers. There. So all motors, as you can see from the graph here, all motors ranging from the tiny 1 HP motors to large 100 HP industrial motors achieve their peak near 90 to 100% when they are working hard, ideally between 65 and 105% of their rated capacity. Now, when the load drops below 25%, the efficiency curves for every single motor size also decline sharply. We can move to the next slide for the sake of time. All right. Now, now the audited mills, the mills that we audited are operating below their rated capacity or underloaded. Let me say like that. As shown on this graph, when motor output drops, the efficiency curves also decline rapidly. Now, an IE2, which is the International Efficiency Classification of Motors, among the motors that we audited, two mills have IE2 motors, and then one mill has IE1 motor. So this IE2 motor operates at 88.4% efficiency, while IE3 operates or delivers around 92.1% efficiency. Now, while this 3.7% gaps seems small on paper, it becomes massive over long daily operating hours. So, all right, thank you. And then, while we were doing our audit, we noticed that all the millers don't, have energy efficiency or energy management system with that they are undertaking. For instance, they don't even keep records. The maintenance is done based on when the system has failed. That means it is corrective maintenance that they always do, and they don't have variable frequency drives, and no any energy management system in place. And we realize that all these are happening because they have not been well oriented on energy management, whether they should keep record, the importance of record keeping, and even the importance of preventive or preventive maintenance and all that. So with this, our low-hanging fruits that we recommend, after as a result of this study, is that extensive awareness creation should be done to all the millers who are now operating, and even to the future millers that will come. And then now let's please next. Very well. As a result of the inefficient operations of the mills, both NOAA or the energy generators and the consumers, experience a lot of losses. You can look at it from the high cost that they spend as a result of the high reactive power that they draw from the system, and NOAA from the other end also loses money because their meters only charge the millers based on the active power that they drew, yet the motors have drawn a lot of power that went as the waste. And the back and forth, movement of the power as a result of the wasted electricity causes high line losses. Rather causes the cable to heat up, which increase generation losses. And as a result, also the voltage drops. The voltage drop because of the oversized systems, the high rate of reactive power, and all that, which gives a lot strain to the system, and thereby also leading to outages or shutting down the system at some point. The same reasons also explains equipment overload. For instance, a 1 mill or 1 milling site may require only 12 kilowatt hour, but yet it draws a lot of power of about 33 kVA. 33 kVA. So with that, it overloads the systems. If you have 2 or 3 or little more than that, it will overload the system, and the other customers might not be in position to also get power from the same mini grid. Next. Next, please. Okay. Now, this slide here presents a reliability analysis comparing 2 mini grid sites, Ogili and Apieta. The data here evaluates the negative impact of inefficient milling or operation on power reliability using a standard utility matrix. The SAIFI, which is the frequency of interruption, the SAIDI, duration of interruption, and the CAIDI, which is the average restoration time. Now, if you look at this table here, you can see that Apieta experienced more interruption than Ogili. Apieta had a total of 47 combined interruptions, whereas Ogili only has 9. And looking at the same table, you notice that Apieta suffered catastrophic downtime when compared to Ogili. It accumulated 217, which is about 9 days of total blackouts, while Ogili only experienced about 35 hours of blackout. So when an outage occurs, or during all these outages, Apieta takes significantly a longer time to fix on average. As you can see, the blackout sometimes lasted for about 5 hours or more than 5 hours, compared to that of Ogili, which lasted for nearly 4 hours. So also to bring to your attention that in Apieta there is no milling operations that take place, but rather there are a lot of other activities, such as the welding activities that I mentioned before, refrigerations, and a lot of other activities. But then we should also note that the Apieta mini grid has low storage capacity of about 1,144 kilowatt hour, and the mini grid itself is of 40 kilowatt hour. So that means at some point the consumption pattern outperform or outweigh the generation profile. So the generation profile, yeah. So basically, this is it from my side, and this is the measured data that we have gathered from our visit in the 3 mini grid sites. So I will return you back to my colleague Isaac.
Thank you very much, Talib, for that. Sorry for overshooting the time. I'm going to be very fast for the next sections. Maybe just also just a brief on this. The data for Ogili is not complete If it was complete, then the picture would be a bit different. So I'll go straight to the certified and the socio-economic impacts. I'm not going to dwell a lot on this. If energy efficiency is not prioritized, it has enterprise level, household, wider community, and gender inclusion impacts. On the enterprise level, of course, it has to do with the costs per ton for the millers, the effects of downtime and motor replacement cycles. For household, it's the affordability. As the energy cost goes up, the affordability for the output, which is the maize or the cassava, becomes expensive. For the wider community, the affordability of the energy, because now a lot of it is being wasted, it even gets more complicated for other services. And for the mills, we found that the youth and the women are actively employed in the milling operations. And if they are not able to afford, then it affects the aspects of gender inclusion. This graph, this table just simply summarizes what we just talked about. I'll not dwell on it, but simply indicating that there is an opportunity to increase the business case at the mill side if energy efficiency is prioritized. We've also done energy efficiency cost-benefit analysis for the interventions, and basically to show that actually they are cost positive if they are considered. Now, as I bring this session to a close, because we need to have some time to just have a few questions, the milling sites on the energy efficiency measures on the low cost, there is a high potential that they is option for awareness. As I mentioned at the beginning, we discovered that the leverage point to create transformation that is lasting and impactful must start at the awareness level. We cannot begin talking about technologies like the variable frequency drives or efficient motors when people don't even understand what efficiency is all about. And we are very happy that NOAA has implemented this in a different aspect in terms of awareness, and they have actually realized the benefits. Then also for the medium cost, we see that here it's an affordability intervention that needs to be considered, and I'll talk about that later as we consider those technologies to be implemented. But to make this sustainable and long-term and impactful, we believe that energy management system needs to be introduced at the system level, at the mini grid, and then that guides all the operations downstream. For when you come to talk about the affordability challenge, we think that if the mini grid operates an on-billing mechanism, it is possible for the cost of these interventions to be lower, but also to create a sustainable way in which the grid ensures that whoever is connected to it, its network is as efficient as possible. We believe that there's an opportunity also for development partners to come alongside the mini grid to see how to create opportunities through result-based funding and grants that can accelerate the adoption. We also see that with the mindset of some of these users, especially the big consumers, it's important that the mini grid considers having those reactive metering such that they can be able to measure and show the businesses that indeed they're impacting the grid because of the bad power factor. And we believe that if the milling operators are able to adopt this, it will transform. As I conclude, I want to say thank you very much to the partners who have been involved in this particular project. And we believe that if awareness is prioritized, the potential for the sustainability of the mini grid, but also for the businesses connected to this grid is very, very high. And we are confident that this is possible if it is implemented and supported. Thank you very much for listening to us. I'll now open up the floor for questions or comments in the remaining few minutes. Unfortunately, we have very little time. I don't know if it's okay if you can allow us just 10 more minutes of your time. I know we had agreed to spend only an hour on this. If it's okay with you, we can just get 10 more minutes just to allow questions and comments, and then we'll conclude at exactly 10 minutes past the hour. All right, thank you. Thank you. In the 10 minutes, you're open to ask questions. To make this as streamlined as possible, please use the Q&A session to post your questions. If you haven't yet posted your questions, you can raise your hand and we allow you to ask your questions. Any questions or comments? Yes, Juliana, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Engineer Isaac, for the presentation and for the interesting presentation and findings. Mine is to share. My name is Juliana Laniero. I am consulting with Ashdale Climate Solutions under the Transforming Humanitarian Energy Access, which is a project being implemented across refugee settlements in Uganda, but more specifically, I'll speak to Kiriandongo Refugee Settlement, where we supported one of the refugee-led organizations to install a solar-powered milling facility. And like you mentioned, the key issue has been awareness. I think the biggest factor for us has been the consistency, the reliability of the system, because there's a budget dedicated to awareness. They've done the awareness, but these downtimes have created a very big issue with the solar milling facility. So people are thinking, does this actually work? Because sometimes the motors are undersized and they cannot mill. So there'll be a whole line of clients ready to mill, and then the motor goes off. So that has been a big issue besides the awareness factor. What has been your experience in terms of the reliability? Has it created a negative picture of milling, of the mini grids towards powering milling within those areas that you're operating in, or the biggest issue for you is now just awareness and reliability has not been an issue? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before I say anything, I would like to allow Jen to respond to this, and then I can also add just a few insights on what we've discovered. Jen?
Thank you very much, Isaac, and the question from Gillian. From my experience, first of all, earlier we had those reliability issues, and that was a technical concern, which we had to first address, because when we're accelerating productive use, it was a concern that, yes, we can be able to adopt this, but how is this power going to be reliable? So we had to go back to the drawing board. You cannot work independently from making the power reliable as well as and make PUE or efficiency work on its own. They have to go hand in hand. So you have to do the technical bit of ensuring that the plant is going to be able to support the available load, and then be able to balance on their awareness. Why we focused on the awareness is because we found that we had accelerated. And whereas we had accelerated, we found that people's lives are not transforming. And it is until we did this awareness or capacity building of the consumers, and they were able to appreciate, like, if this was done earlier, we could have worked along. So it is balancing basically both. Balance accessibility with the reliability as well as efficiency. Yeah.
Excellent response. And actually, just to support what she said, there's actually a test they did in the site where because in the millers' minds, they believe that faster means better, and therefore they go for the oversized 15 HP motors. But NOAA discovered that there's a disconnect, because faster and higher does not mean better for you in your business. And so they've piloted with a few of their customers with smaller meters, because they understand, as she said, what is actually the capacity, what is the need in the community. And then they have demonstrated that with the 5 HP motors, and they've seen significant benefit, to the extent that the owner of the 5 HP milling system has bought another milling system, meaning there's actually transformation of lives, as Jen has mentioned. So it goes hand in hand, awareness, but also understanding what is the capacity need for the mill and how can it be sized as efficiently as possible to meet the need, because as we've seen from the findings, it has a ripple effect, not just for the miller, but also for the mini grid. There's a question here from Hona Motaram. He's asking, I'm interested in hearing more about the training you did and what did this cover and what were the outcomes. This training focused on the operations and maintenance of the milling, specifically the motor systems. And in that training, we went into the basics of what it means to operate efficiently. And from the energy efficiency or the energy pyramid perspective, energy efficiency has the highest impact at the conservation step. So if you look at the pyramid, the bottom part of the pyramid is the biggest, And that is where conservation lies. And so the training focused on how can we create the awareness to the technicians and NOAA management on the fact that if they can prioritize conservation aspects, simple things like cleaning motors, we didn't show the pictures, but if you saw the pictures of the mills, you'd be appalled at how dirty the mills are. And that simple thing can have significant transformation in terms of efficiency gains, but also benefits for the millers. The other one is the second level of the pyramid, which is efficient technologies. Efficient technologies can only be effective, just like the question was asked, can only be effective if the first level has been catered for, which is conservation. If conservation is not done and you just drop efficient technologies, you're going to have a negative, effect. And then, of course, that's where now the renewables plug in. So the training focused on helping the technicians and the management understand that if they prioritize the conservation aspects, then when it comes to implementing the more costly things like variable frequency drives, efficient motors, the impact is going to be more significant. And so things like record keeping, they don't keep records. How are they going to know what their specific energy use is, and how can they compare themselves to others? Or how can they know how much energy is being consumed? I didn't go into the aspects on the impact, the socioeconomic impacts, but you can see from one of the interactions we had with the stakeholders, they were talking about 80% energy consumption. And of course, you would ask yourself, what's the basis? They have no record to confirm that. But that's the aspect. We focused more on saying, how can we raise the awareness about conservation, and then prioritizing those simple things, record keeping, maintenance of the motors, and bringing this all together in an energy management system, even if in the most rudimentary way, planning how they're going to conserve energy, acting on it, evaluating how their performance is, and then doing the process of the plan, do, check, act in the energy management system. Any other questions? We are almost at the top of the hour. I would like to thank you all for staying with us even after we've overshot our time. For those who have shared your comments and questions, we are very grateful. I would like to invite Sumaya to give an opportunity to give her closing remarks. She's been very supportive to us throughout the project and has guided our thinking and our approach to get us to where we are. Sumaya, you're most welcome to give your closing remarks, and then we'll end the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the insightful findings, Isaac, and also thank you so much, for the NOA team to also, share their insights and their takeaways. I think we can all agree that, energy efficiency has to be, the first set of actions that we take before we can even think of, increasing or expanding, our consumption. It's not to say that we shouldn't, use power. Power is there to be used, but if it's being used inefficiently, it is going to cost us, and it has a knock-on effect, as we've seen from the findings. I think there's a lot more that we can take from this, and I just want to thank EAU as well as IACRI and NOA for this collaboration and this partnership. And we thank all of our listeners for joining us in. We will definitely be sharing this information afterwards. With that, I wish you all and bid you all a blessed day further. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Sumaya, and thank you all for staying on even when we overshot. We wish you a blessed rest of the day and a blessed weekend as well. Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.